Please welcome Chief Executive Officer Ryan Gorman.
I just saw that video for the first time yesterday, and it brought a huge smile to my face. I hope it did you as well. Many of you were probably looking for yourselves in the video. Hopefully many of you saw yourselves. I saw you last night. I thought it would be pretty cool to surprise you. Seeing yourselves up there was awesome. Now, some of you are wondering how you can get in that. Well, we do a call to action. You got to rise to the challenge. You got to be quick about it. Gustavo Gonzalez runs a tight ship. I reached out to him and said, hey, man, I'm a little late for the deadline. Can I submit something? He said, no. I don't care who you are. I said, but Gus, it's me. He's like, no, I don't care if it's the CEO. We don't roll like that here, man. I said, no, forget about CEO. You are talking to one half of the champion award-winning breakdancing preteen section Queen of Apostles Carnival winners from 1989. He was not impressed. He said, you said one half of the duo. You get the band back together and then you talk. So, all right, that's cool. So thank you so much for coming. It is wonderful to be here with you all today. I do understand that we have many, many, many thousands online, but we have thousands more here in person, including apparently so many thousands that we've got standing room only back there. I did ask them to open up the upper deck, so hopefully we'll do that relatively shortly so you can enjoy the entire event here in comfort. Thank you all so much for breaking away from leading through adventurous markets, which I know you're all doing right now, to lead by example by investing in yourselves. Especially those of you who made time in your crazy schedules to be here with us in person in Phoenix to do the work, lean into the Coldwell Banker value proposition, and strengthen your networks. It is so incredible to see you. Thank you for taking the time out to invest in yourselves. You encourage your clients to do that. Now's the time for you to do it. And as the real estate market shifts just a little, as the stock market shifts, the economy shifts, suddenly buyers and sellers, tenants and landlords, agents and team leaders, and top brokers are all looking for substance over flash, experience over mere aspiration, and a track record of delivering on our promises no matter what the world throws at us. In other words, more than a century of leadership rooted deeply in our founding principles of honesty, integrity, and service has never been a better opening line than it is right now. And I hope you are using that line as frequently as possible with your past, present, and future clients. I especially hope you're reaching out to your most recent buyers who may be seeing these headlines out there of a housing correction and average sales price declines, and they may be worried that perhaps they've purchased at the peak. Now, as a reminder, these clients love you. They love you. You help them win in an ultra-competitive market, and they probably locked in an historically low interest rate in the process. You gave them confidence when confidence was so necessary and in pretty short supply. And today, they are the most likely people to refer you to friends, to family, to the person standing behind them in line at Starbucks, but only if you're top of mind. And with the worrisome headlines that they're seeing, this is the perfect reason, perfect time to reach out. See, much like the average national temperature, which absolutely no human uses to get dressed in the morning, average sales price movements, they make for good headlines and bad decisions. So right now, your most recent buyers, they need precisely the kind of local market context and color that you have in order to regain the confidence and understanding that you helped them to create in the first place when they purchased. So reach out, check in, ask what the kids are gonna be for Halloween. Ask if they figured out which houses give out the full-size Snickers bars. Share what you're seeing in the marketplace, and let them know that you're happy to help anyone they know who may have real estate needs. Easier said than done, perhaps. You may be thinking, I'm happy to reach out, happy to make the call, but I'm not sure that I can provide much comfort because I don't know what's going to happen next in the market either. I get it. Totally understandable. Nobody knows for sure. So let's talk about what we do know. With overall transaction volume down about 20%, that's mostly due to lower transaction count, the number of transactions. The lack of inventory and decades of underbuilding are still keeping prices steady and even rising. Again, nationally, you'll see some fluctuations in your markets. And home value is what really matters to your clients, of course. Price is what they're paying attention to. Now, you've heard me say many, many times before that demographics are inescapable, and they are heavily in favor of home ownership, with household formation up strongly in the last 15 years in the young adult cohort that is full of first-time buyers and move-up buyers. That is what's growing fastest. And today, we've got a reasonably healthy economy, below average unemployment, decent interest rates, and before you all scream at me, I understand that rates have increased. Yes, they have doubled, but they're at basically the historical average right now. That's literally where they are. And we have record equity in homes. Total home value, 2/3 of total home value is in equity right now, which is absolutely incredible, relatively unprecedented. And all that with still stringent underwriting standards. As in, today, creative underwriting is a 7-1 ARM, not a 2005 era 125% negative amort loan. You guys all remember those. We're nowhere near that today. Simply put, the long-term fundamentals remain sound. The future of home ownership is bright, even if we're in a temporary rough patch on transaction count. So let's talk a little bit about those transactions. The number of homes that sell in any given period means a lot to us in the business, but it means very little to any individual homeowner. So it's time to help your sphere to separate irrelevant headlines from useful knowledge. You can calm them with context. Now, for those of you in the business, which is all of us, let's take a closer look at the supposedly dire headlines for next year. Most forecasters are calling for lower overall transaction volume, probably on the order of at least 10% from where we are in this moment in October, mostly down on units, with overall price roughly flat. I know you're saying all kinds of headlines about price. That's roughly what all the average forecasters are saying. Now remember, on the price front, even if home values continue to climb, if we see even a slightly slower luxury home sale velocity, the highest priced homes slow down just a little bit in how many days on markets they're taking, that will actually make the overall average look like it's declined. Again, even if individual homes do not lose value, you'll see headlines pointing to flattening out and declining values. And that sounds scary, which I understand. Let's put it into perspective. What the US is experiencing right now is roughly a 20 to 30% year-over-year unit volume decline. It's based on overall public market records and kind of pinpointing it into the middle of October. There's all kinds of data sources out there, including the NAR release last week, but cut through all the debate, it looks like a roughly 27% decline on overall units year over year through mid-October. Lots of different data sources, that's kind of the average. And we can visualize what a decline of that nature looks like with this photo of an iconic section of Lombard Street in our founding San Francisco. This hill is exactly a 27% grade, just like we've seen the year-over-year market decline. That's steep by any measure, so if you're feeling like the market has shifted, you would be right. Now let's compare that to another street in San Francisco. It's closer to a 10% grade, which is what we have to look forward to in the coming year based on what most of the forecasters are predicting. Now, if you don't recognize this hill, it's because it's not famous. It's not steep enough to be famous. Native San Franciscans probably don't even call it a hill. To them, probably looks flat. Now, I'm not saying that a 10% unit volume decline is something to sniff at. It is not a minor thing. What I am saying is it's manageable if you put in the work, which is what you're here to do today, and we're going to talk more about that in just a bit. Now, could a global catastrophic surprise or a big move by the Federal Reserve change all of that in some significant way to make a material change? Honestly, while I should say sure it could happen, I don't really think it will. I don't think it's particularly likely. First of all, the Fed hates surprises, hates surprises. They've been signaling all year and doing precisely what they signaled again and again and again. Earlier this month, in fact, there was a surprisingly good jobs report, and the stock market paradoxically fell because suddenly investors thought the Fed might do what they said they would do every time they said what they would do, and they did. So agree or disagree, the Fed says what they do, and they do what they say. They're continuing to do that now. As for global, political, environmental, or public health shocks, we seem to have one of those pretty much every month at this point, and I thought maybe we could take a little closer look at what happens when we do. In the second quarter of 2020, things looked legitimately uncertain. Even reasonable people were deeply afraid. Talk of end times seemed just a little less crazy. Tinfoil hats were making a bit of a comeback. And what happened? People said, honey, I am really scared. What if this is as bad as they say and we have to face it without a pool? What if we're quarantined at home, cut off from the outside world, with no game room? I'm worried about the kids, honey. Can you call the pediatrician and ask if they know a good realtor? I mean, all roads led to home in 2020. And back then, we adapted in all kinds of ways before we returned to our longtime norms. We had Zoom cocktail receptions, Netflix binging. We had double bubbling with neighbors. Until, of course, Zoom became a four-letter word, and we reached the last episode of a Full House reboot and questioned all our life decisions. And about the only thing we wanted to see from some of our neighbors was a for sale sign. But the consistently strong appeal of housing only grew throughout the pandemic. For some, it was a new primary residence to meet new or changing priorities. For others, it was second homes or luxury properties, because it turns out you really do only live once. Real estate helps you to live that well. Housing strength grew more and more, and it was so durable that the Federal Reserve has identified rent growth and housing appreciation and home renovation demand as significant contributors to high inflation. But this is no bubble. Buyers are not speculating. They are not day trading in housing. They are picturing themselves in your listings, celebrating milestone birthdays with extended family, cooking in kitchens that are the heart of the house, putting teeth under pillows and holding loved ones close. The desire is real, the demand is fundamental, the value of home is enduring, and the appeal of housing isn't going away anytime soon. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that next year will look like last year. It doesn't even mean that next week will look like last week. The Fed, the economy, global, national, local politics, things can shift in a heartbeat. But right now, within a relatively tight trading range. Remember that 10% grade hill, if you can call it that. The coming months will likely yield a low point in transaction volume, seasonally adjusted units. And it won't be drastically lower than where we are today. At least that's my personal prediction. That's the good news. The even better news is that your success next month, next year, and in every year you try to ply the trade in this most entrepreneurial profession, which is real estate, it's up to you. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you can do to ensure success in this next phase of the market. To illustrate my point, I've retained information best by hearing a personal story from who's speaking, so I'm going to go down that road. I want to share with you the story that I developed when I encountered a hill that looked a lot like Lombard. Long ago and far away, I lived in a small, mostly rural and mostly flat part of the country, Salem County, New Jersey. We had a rodeo. Actually, the oldest weekly rodeo in the entire country, I'll have you know. We had 2 movie screens. Well, one screen, but we divided it in half with a divider so you could listen to both movies while watching one at any point in time. We had a pool hall, and that even came with a bit of a game room and bowling alley, which was pretty cool. And we had high school sports. So we basically lived like kings. As far as we knew, it was as good as it gets. Speaking of sports, I was a decent athlete. But there's my father. He was my high school principal. That's his office. In baseball, though, I couldn't hit the ball to save my life. So this is the literal placeholder they created here, because what I found out was my family has erased that phase in our history, so there's no photographic evidence whatsoever. True story. I have no photos of me. Actually, my aunt sent me a photo of my father playing baseball and said, "You could use this. He looks a lot like you." I'm like, that's from like 1960, but okay. In baseball, my coach's only advice was to crowd the plate and to try to get hit by the pitch. That was literally the only advice. So true story, championship game, runners on base, coach called a timeout and told me to take a shot in the back. I was a kid, and I did, and we won. And I was not asked to play baseball in high school after that. Football was a family sport. My father was an absolute legend, still is to this day, so are my uncles. My grandfather was incredible, semi-pro. They know how to play. But with only a dozen teammates on my freshman squad, we played Ironman every single down, just like my grandfather did, which was cool, but eventually my heart just wasn't in it. Basketball was fun, it was a blast. I was good enough to have fun all 4 years, but I was good, not great. Where I found real success was in distance running. I was not the fastest, but when I found out that in a 5K, the athlete who can endure the most pain wins, I was absolutely hooked on the sport. All pain, no skill, right up my alley. It's exactly what I needed. Now remember, this was a mostly rural, mostly flat part of the country, so running was referred to as the worst part of any sport as opposed to a sport by itself, so competition was not stiff. I won races, I broke records, I started to think I was pretty good. Spoiler alert, this is kind of the corollary to the 2021 housing market, where if you worked incredibly hard, you did pretty well. And we broke every record there is in the sport of real estate last year. But we were running on flat ground. Oh, all right, let's applaud that before he said but. Because we really did. And many of those record holders are here today. You saw a lot of them on the screen. It'd be fun for you to congratulate them when you see them. So back then, as I was cruising along, I was feeling pretty good. Until I joined a Division I running team. And my very first training run with the team was a field trip to the Pocono Mountains. Now, as a flatlander, when I arrived at the trailhead, this is what it looked like to me. Yep. And I started off strong. I mean it, I started off strong. I hung with the team for several seconds. And it was bad. It was really, really bad. I mean, I'm serious, it was really bad. Like, it was so bad the team captain actually called the coach that night, which was like no small thing. He had to go find a phone and actually call him. This is not back in the day of cell phones, and we were not anywhere near one, just to tell him he made a mistake recruiting me. The fact is, I was in good shape. I was in really good shape, but for the flats, not for the hills. I figured I would just redouble my efforts, right? I didn't change what I was doing, but I did more of it. Harder work, but the same old way. I think you may be seeing where I'm going with this. When the terrain changes, we need to train differently to win in a new landscape. I found that out the hard way when my very first collegiate meet at the Naval Academy course. About a mile into the race, the group in front of me made a sharp turn up a steep hill that to me looked something like this. I actually thought they had turned off course. This is literally true. I thought they had gotten off of course, so I said that out loud, confirming for all of them that I had no business being in this race in the first place. And if they needed any more information to confirm that, that hill totally crushed me. I actually used my hands at one point to get up that hill. True story. Now, in high school, the equivalent of the 2021 real estate market for us, I won most races, sometimes by a literal country mile. But at Annapolis, with more than 130 runners on the course, I came in second to last. And the kid I beat broke his ankle midway through the course. And I did not beat him by a lot. And I'm serious. Like, he actually did come hobbling in not too far behind me. Now, after that race, the plan was to visit home. So it was a long, quiet drive back to Salem County. I was so angry with myself. I was furious that I was so unprepared. I actually asked to be dropped off well outside of town so I could run the rest of the way home, try and work through things in my head. Did my best thinking while I was running. Somewhere on that run, I realized that my legs were feeling pretty good again. And then it hit me. This is because that's the longest I had run on flat ground since I left for college. I was back in my comfort zone. I was feeling great. And it felt totally wrong because that's not what I needed. At least not if I was serious about running. What got me here wouldn't get me there. I needed to break out of my comfort zone. I needed to work the hills, not stay in the flats. And by the time I got home, I was committed to working the hills harder than anyone. Every day, no matter what, bring on the pain. Now, I am not saying that next year will crush the unprepared in the real estate market, but I am saying that we need to work the hills right now hard. And that's what we're going to be doing together over the next few days. Now, at the time, I wasn't so strong-headed that I failed to realize that I would need help. I asked my coach for advice. I asked the team captain what he would do. Remember, this is the guy who said I was a mistake. But I did. I asked him for advice. I tried to follow his advice. I made sure that everyone knew that I was taking this incredibly seriously, everyone on the team. One of my teammates from upstate New York, where they really do know hills, he offered to train and race with me. He became my accountability partner. So I leaned into the team, and the team rallied to support me. Much like each of you here in Phoenix this week, leaning into the Coldwell Banker team, leaning into your fellow Coldwell Banker leaders, and leaning into our value proposition. We are here for you, truly. Try us. Last night, many of you caught me and said, hey, I'm trying to do this thing, or this is what's going on. I connected you with someone else who's done that, and you rose, and they rose, and you're going to grow better together. Now, those next few weeks, way back when, I did the work. I pushed myself harder than ever. I powered up every hill in southeastern Pennsylvania, and my confidence grew with every mile. The last invitational of the season was my chance to prove to myself and to my team that I could do this. The hill on that course was nicknamed K2, and it was no joke. So maybe it was out of fear of that hill, my accountability partner lost his mind. He started off from the starting line and took off like an absolute bat out of hell, forcing me to break through my mental limitations and to push to find my true physical limitations, just to keep up with him. And it turned out those limitations were well beyond what I had imagined. So I'll spare you all the long story of the race and some of the happy accidents that came along the way, but I will tell you that that day I did finish first place for my team, and I learned valuable lessons that I reflect on every single day to this day. And actually, that was the only race that my mother has ever seen me run. That's us. That is not my real hair. But that is us in hats in the Belfry in Philadelphia. It's the only race my mother's ever seen me run. She went right from the finish line to Philadelphia International Airport and flew home to New Zealand, which is where she lived for many, many years. So to this day, having only seen that race, she thinks I'm a pretty badass runner. So don't tell her about Annapolis if you run into her. Just let her think that. That fall season taught me some of my most valuable lessons. And I'm grateful that you've allowed me to share a little bit of it with you here today. Because I share this story often, as you can imagine, at home with my kids, and they barely listen. They kind of roll their eyes if I can even get that much of a reaction from them. But last week, I saw just a little glimmer that perhaps I was getting through as my youngest daughter pushed herself in her very first cross-country race. And she truly did. She's the best. That's Harper. Now, in her second race of the season, for which I do not have photographic evidence, she slowed down to support her teammates, to cheer them on, right? That's the Coldwell Banker way. That was fantastic to see her do that. I fully support it. And then she slowed down further to collect interesting leaves that she found along the way, which I have learned to fully accept. I told her that I was going to tell you that story, and she said, make sure you let them know that I'm also better than you at football, because my rookie year, I matched your all-time record in receiving touchdowns, which is true, and now I have made good on my promise. When the terrain changes, we work the hills, we lean into the team, we grow stronger together, and we win in that new landscape. And that is what we are going to do here. And if you are ready to work the hills, the entire team is here for you. And I mean literally here for literally you in Phoenix to do that together, to get better. Because your next year is your best year, and it's up to you to make that true. We're all here for you. That is truly what this is all about. We have a lot of fun along the way, but this is all about getting better, growing stronger. And I share this trail running story somewhat frequently because it taught me so much. And I deeply appreciate it when others, including all of you, share your experiences with me, including Terry Crews, actually, who's going to be sharing a story similar to this with Liz later today. Now, I find myself contemplating his book, Tough. How many people read Terry Crews' book, Tough, in the audience today? You know, so we've got some people who read it. You're in for a treat when the rest of you hurry up and download it to read that, because it was full of lessons for me about what true strength and power truly are and what really strong people do with that power when they have it. Terry tells his life story of working the hills, leaning into the team, and sharing his experience. We get a little taste of that to you today as well. So how about you? Are you ready for what's coming? There is no time like the present, so take another look at your Gen Blue agenda. You can pull out your phone, I won't be offended. Are you attending only classes in your wheelhouse? Are you running the flats? Or are you challenging yourself to grow? Are you pushing past your comfort zone? Are you working what works, practicing the fundamentals? Are you prospecting beyond your existing client base? Are you working the hills? You'll be rewarded if you do so, as your business grows while others are left in the flats of a flat market. And what about after you go back home? After you get back to your markets, are you planning on leveraging everything Coldwell Banker has to offer? For instance, will you be fully set up on Moxie? Will you be able to leverage the entire network you have and have built here at every listing presentation to win every opportunity? Will you fully leverage everything Coldwell Banker has to offer? In fact, are you perhaps learning to win in the new landscape of the new luxury economy by getting yourself global luxury certified? Or maybe you're taking CCIM 101 and learning more about the Coldwell Banker commercial value proposition. You'll be rewarded for doing so as your business grows while others are left in their comfort zones. And for brokers and team leaders in the crowd, are you pushing yourself to prepare your agents for the changing terrain? Are you practicing what you preach? Are you working with your existing agents to find and support the next rising star in your ranks? And are you prospecting for agents in your market who deserve to upgrade to Coldwell Banker so they're not facing new terrain without the strongest value proposition in the industry? You'll be rewarded for doing so with a business that defies the gravity of the market. And are all of you sharing your experiences and asking others to share theirs? Are you learning from one another and inviting the best agents you know to benefit from the Coldwell Banker value proposition the way that you do, so they will not be left behind? If you are, Coldwell Banker would like to thank you and reward you in a very specific way. Many of you are with Coldwell Banker brokers today who have terrific recruiting incentives, perhaps heartfelt tokens of appreciation or events to thank those who helped grow the culture by attracting new, collaborative, diverse, and ambitious talent. I love the examples I've heard all over the network, including the referral rewards program that has historically been reserved for Coldwell Banker Realty agents. And I think it is high time that we support these programs more, a lot more. So introducing the new, improved, and expanded Coldwell Banker Referral Rewards. Starting January 1st, for US-based agents with participating brokers, when you invite an agent who you respect to upgrade to Coldwell Banker, we will express our gratitude for strengthening the team by sharing back with you 1% of the upgraded agent's gross commission for as long as you're both affiliated with the strongest brand in the business. All right, we got a bell ring. You heard that right, 1% of gross commission for life. No wacky profit calculations, no gimmicks, no production requirement, no use it or lose it, no multi-level marketing. All it needs to be is someone coming from outside of Coldwell Banker or our sister brands. That's it. For agents with Coldwell Banker Realty, you may be hearing this and thinking, well, that sounds cool, but is it different from our current referral rewards program? The answer is yes. Your current program, when you attract someone to Coldwell Banker Realty, is exactly the same, including that first 2-year incentive. No change there. Now, however, you get to invite people to upgrade to Coldwell Banker all across the country. And if someone joins one of our more than 1,400 affiliate offices, basically any office that is non-CBR, anywhere from Kona Beach to Kansas City to Key West, you will be able to enjoy referral rewards. And for Coldwell Banker agents with our affiliates, you may be wondering if your brokerage will participate. Well, this is a brand new program, lots of kinks to work out, but I am thrilled to share the vast majority of agents in the US networks are with brokers who have already agreed to roll out referral rewards, and they are, if you see them, can I just ask you to please thank them? Because this is a tremendous burden that they are taking on. I'm very serious about that, and they agreed enthusiastically in many cases. It is no small thing, and they're even trying to roll it out before year end. So when you see your broker, please thank them if they are participating. Now, some brokers have incredible recruiting incentives today, and they want to keep them in place, which is entirely understandable. They're truly epic. We support them. For the group here today, in person and virtually, we figured you might actually have some folks that come to mind. So we set up a beta approach where you can recommend agents who you think are worthy of upgrading to Coldwell Banker, starting as soon as possibly later this week. So for hundreds of brokers in the US, including Coldwell Banker Realty, we'll be activating a new path to allow you to start recommending agents almost immediately. For Coldwell Banker Realty, if you have someone you want to recommend to an affiliate office, all you need to do is mention it to your manager. Simple as that. For everyone else, you can look for a special tile that'll soon be appearing on desk as early as this week or next week, and that can be your path to making a recommendation. Now, I have long adored the creativity, entrepreneurship, collaboration, and appreciation that are hallmarks of the Coldwell Banker Network, and I cannot wait to see how you all build upon, embrace, and enhance the referral rewards program as you invite agents who you admire to upgrade to Gen Blue. So thank you all so very much for participating. We really appreciate it. And thank you because this idea came from many of you about how you wanted a completely simple program of gratitude that you can share with your network, which I appreciate. Speaking of gratitude, I just want to share my deep gratitude, appreciation, and admiration for all of you. I typically close my messages by thanking you all for everything you do every single day. I say it often, and I mean it very, very sincerely. Just like when I tell my kids every night that I love them always and forever, no matter what, that's the deal. Repetition for me deepens meaning, it doesn't cheapen it. And you inspire me. You motivate me. You make me want to work harder and smarter and better for you. You make me want to work the hills so I never let you down. I lean on this team every single day, and we share with one another in a true spirit of collaboration. It is by far the greatest gift of my career to have the opportunity to support you, to cheer you on around the world, to work for you, and to be a member of your team. So from the bottom of my very, very full heart, I appreciate you, I celebrate you, and I thank you, Coldwell Banker. I thank you. Thank you so much.